I stood in front of my easel, brush poised over canvas, when my mother's text arrived. Thanksgiving dinner. 6 p.m. sharp. Your brother has big news about Sterling Industries. My hand trembled slightly, sending a drop of crimson paint splattering across the pristine white canvas. Of course Michael had news. Michael always had news, each announcement more self-congratulatory than the last. I hadn't planned on attending another family dinner. The last 3 had been exercises in humiliation, with my parents and brother taking turns reminding me what a disappointment I'd become. But something told me I needed to be there tonight. After all, tomorrow would change everything. The Victorian mansion my parents called home loomed before me as I pulled into the circular driveway. My modest Audi looked out of place among the luxury vehicles. Michael's new Porsche, Mom's Range Rover, Dad's Mercedes. But appearances, as I'd learned, could be deceiving. Madison. My mother's greeting was cool as she opened the door, her eyes scanning my outfit with barely concealed disapproval. You couldn't dress up a bit? This is a special occasion. I glanced down at my black silk dress. Simple but elegant. I came straight from the studio. She sighed. Still playing with your little paintings? I thought you'd have grown out of that phase by now. The phase she referred to was my successful career as an artist and gallery owner. Not that they'd ever bothered to visit my gallery or attend any of my shows. Art wasn't a real career in the Sterling family. Michael's voice boomed from the dining room. Is that Maddie? Come in here, sis. Wait until you hear the news. The dining room was a shrine to old money, with its crystal chandelier and antique mahogany table. My brother sat at our father's right hand, practically vibrating with self-importance in his designer suit. His wife Catherine perched beside him, elegant and cold as an ice sculpture. Madison, my father nodded curtly. Sit down, we're about to serve. I took my usual place at the far end of the table, as far from the center of power as possible. The housekeeper began serving the first course. Some kind of fancy soup I didn't bother to taste. So, Michael couldn't contain himself any longer. I suppose you're all wondering about my big announcement. Our mother leaned forward eagerly. Tell us, darling. Though I suspect it has something to do with tomorrow's merger meeting. Michael's grin widened. Sterling Industries is about to become the largest manufacturing conglomerate in the Northeast. We're acquiring our biggest competitor, Blake Manufacturing, and their entire subsidiary network. Magnificent. Our father beamed. I always knew you'd take the company to new heights after I stepped down as CEO. I stirred my soup quietly, watching the drama unfold. They had no idea what was really happening behind the scenes of their precious merger. The best part, Michael continued, shooting me a smug look, is that we're finally moving into the luxury goods market. No more boring industrial manufacturing. We're talking high-end products, exclusive designs. He smirked. Real art, not the kind of amateur stuff Maddie wastes her time on. Catherine tittered politely while our mother nodded in approval. It's about time someone in this family understood the value of sophistication. Speaking of waste, my father turned his stern gaze to me. How is your little gallery doing? Still managing to pay the rent? Before I could answer, Michael cut in. Oh, come on, Dad. We all know she's probably burning through her trust fund. That's what happens when you choose finger painting over real business. Actually, I said quietly, the gallery's doing quite well. We just opened a new location downtown. Downtown? Catherine wrinkled her nose. In that awful arts district? How quaint. My mother sighed dramatically. Madison, dear, when are you going to get serious about your life? You're 32 years old. Michael was already running Sterling's European division at your age. And now, Michael raised his wine glass, I'm about to sign the biggest deal in Sterling's history. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp, we're acquiring Blake Manufacturing for a cool $400 million. I took a small sip of water, hiding my smile. That sounds like quite a deal. Have you met the owner of Blake Manufacturing? Michael waved his hand dismissively. Some reclusive artist type who inherited it from her father. She's selling through a proxy. Probably doesn't understand the first thing about business. But that works in our favor. An artist. Our mother's eyebrows shot up. How unfortunate. Though I suppose some people just aren't cut out for the corporate world. She gave me a pointed look. The important thing, my father interjected, is that Sterling Industries will finally have the market dominance it deserves. Michael has proven himself more than worthy of the Sterling legacy. Unlike some people, Catherine murmured, not quite under her breath. I set down my spoon, suddenly tired of the game. Tell me, Michael, have you reviewed the complete subsidiary structure of Blake Manufacturing? He frowned. Of course I have. What kind of question is that? And you're familiar with all their holdings? Their shell companies? Their art investment division? Michael's frown deepened. Art investment division? What are you talking about? Nothing, I smiled. Just thinking out loud. I'm sure tomorrow's meeting will be very enlightening. Listen, Michael's voice took on the condescending tone he'd perfected over the years. I know you think you understand business because you sell a few paintings to bored housewives, but this is the real deal. This merger will make Sterling Industries unstoppable. Our father raised his glass. To Michael Sterling, the future of our family legacy. Everyone clinked glasses except me. I was too busy thinking about the documents sitting in my briefcase, the ones that would be revealed at tomorrow's meeting. The ones that would show exactly who owned Blake Manufacturing, its subsidiaries, and its very profitable art investment division. Madison, my mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. At least try to be happy for your brother's success. God knows you've given us little enough to celebrate. I stood up slowly, smoothing my dress. You're right, Mother. Tomorrow will definitely be worth celebrating. I turned to Michael. Good luck with the merger. Running off to your little studio? Michael called after me. Don't worry, once the deal is done, I might commission a painting for my new office. Something suitable for a CEO. I paused at the door, thinking about the nameplate on my corner office at Blake Manufacturing's headquarters. The one that read, Madison Sterling, Chief Executive Officer. Thank you for dinner, I said softly. I'll see you all tomorrow at the merger signing. My mother frowned. Why would you be at the merger? Oh, I smiled. I wouldn't miss it for the world. As I drove home, my phone buzzed with messages from my executive team. Everything was in place for tomorrow's revelation. The Sterling family was about to learn that their artistic disappointment had built something far greater than they could imagine. And Michael's face when he realized who really owned Blake Manufacturing? That would be a masterpiece worth framing. The Sterling Industries boardroom buzzed with anticipation. I stood in the adjacent office, watching through one-way glass as my family settled into their seats of power. Michael at the head of the table, practically glowing with self-importance. Our father beside him, chest puffed with pride. Mother and Catherine perched nearby, gleaming with borrowed glory. Miss Sterling. My assistant Claire appeared at my elbow. Everything's ready. I nodded, adjusting my designer suit Valentino, not the Arts District boutique where my sister-in-law loved to mock. Have they reviewed the final documents? No, Claire smiled. As requested, the complete ownership structure of Blake Manufacturing was kept confidential until this morning. 10 years had led to this moment. While my family dismissed me as a failed artist, I'd been building an empire. It started with my father's throwaway comment at my first gallery opening, "At least you can't destroy real business value with your paintings." That night, I'd looked at my trust fund, the one they thought I was burning through, and made my first investment. Art wasn't just about creation. It was about understanding value, seeing potential where others saw nothing. I began buying struggling companies through shell corporations, restructuring them and selling them for profit. Blake Manufacturing had been my masterpiece. I'd acquired it piece by piece, using holding companies and investment vehicles, keeping my name hidden behind layers of corporate structure. The art investment division alone was worth more than Sterling Industries' entire manufacturing operation. And now my brother was about to sign it all over to me. It's time, Claire announced. I took a deep breath and walked into the boardroom. The reaction was immediate. Madison. Michael's voice cracked with confusion. What are you doing here? Mother's face tightened. Darling, this is a private business meeting. Your brother is about to sign a very important deal. Oh, I know. I took my seat directly opposite Michael. That's why I'm here. Catherine's perfectly plucked eyebrows drew together. Security, she started to rise, but my father waved her down. Let her stay, he sighed. Maybe she'll learn something about real business. The doors opened again as my executive team filed in, all women, all dressed impeccably, all carrying thick folders of documents. Michael straightened his tie, clearly expecting to see Blake Manufacturing's representatives. "Where's the Blake team?" he demanded. "We're supposed to start signing in 5 minutes." I opened my folder slowly, savoring the moment. "You're looking at the Blake team." The silence was delicious. Michael's mouth opened and closed like a landed fish. Our father's face reddened dangerously. "What exactly are you trying to pull?" Catherine's voice had turned shrill. I nodded to Claire, who began distributing documents. "These are the complete ownership records for Blake Manufacturing, its subsidiaries and all associated holdings. You'll note that the controlling interest is held by Phoenix Art Investments, which in turn is owned by Sterling Creative Enterprises." I paused, letting the implications sink in. "Pie Company." Michael snatched the papers, scanning them frantically. "This is impossible. Blake Manufacturing is owned by me," I finished quietly. "Every share, every subsidiary, every division. Including the art investment branch that generated $89 million in profit last year. More than Sterling Industries' entire manufacturing operation." Our father's hands trembled as he flipped through the documents. "How? When did you?" 10 years ago, you told me I couldn't destroy real business value with my art." I met his eyes steadily. "So I decided to create it instead. While you were all laughing at my little gallery, I was building something bigger than Sterling Industries could ever imagine." Michael slammed his fist on the table. "This is ridiculous. We've spent months negotiating this deal." "No," I corrected him. "You spent months negotiating with my proxies, never bothering to look deeper into who really owned the company. You were so convinced an artist type couldn't understand business that you missed what was right in front of you." Mother found her voice at last. But the money? How could you possibly afford?" "My first gallery turned a profit in 6 months," I said calmly. "I reinvested everything, expanded into art consulting, then corporate acquisition. That arts district you sneered at? I own half the buildings there. That little studio, where I waste time painting? It's the headquarters of a $700 million corporate empire." Catherine's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. "So the merger won't be happening," I finished. "At least not the way you planned. My team has prepared a counteroffer." I slid new documents across the table. "Sterling Industries will be acquired by Blake Manufacturing. All operations will be restructured under our management." "You can't do this." Michael's voice rose to a shout. "Dad, tell her she can't do this." Our father was still staring at the ownership documents, his face ashen. "The numbers, these profit margins, how did we not see?" "Because you never bothered to look," I said quietly. "You were too busy dismissing me as a failure to notice what I was building." I stood up, smoothing my jacket. "You have 1 hour to review the terms. They're very generous. More than Blake Manufacturing is actually worth. Consider it a family discount." "And if we refuse?" Michael's voice shook with rage. "Then I'll take the company public. The IPO paperwork is already prepared. And once investors see our growth projections compared to Sterling's." I shrugged. "Well, let's just say the market isn't kind to overvalued manufacturing companies with outdated business models." Mother reached for me, her eyes pleading. "Madison, darling, surely we can discuss this as a family." "Family?" I laughed softly. "Last night you could barely stand to have me at your dinner table. Now you want to discuss business." "I always knew you had potential," my father tried, his voice wheedling. "All that tough love was just to motivate you. Save it." I nodded to my team, who began packing up their documents. 1 hour. Then I want your decision." As I turned to leave, Michael called out, "Why are you doing this?" "To humiliate us." I paused at the door. "No, Michael. I'm doing this because it's good business. After all, isn't that what you taught me? That nothing matters except the bottom line." I smiled. "Consider this your first lesson in modern corporate art." The next hour passed in a blur of legal discussions and number crunching. In the end they signed. They had no choice. Blake Manufacturing's acquisition of Sterling Industries was a masterpiece of corporate strategy, as precisely crafted as any painting. 6 months later I sat in my new office, formerly Michael's, looking at the latest profit reports. The merged company was thriving under new management. My brother had taken a consulting position at a friend's firm. Mother had stopped speaking to me entirely. Father sent occasional emails asking to discuss the future of our family legacy. I turned to the wall where I'd hung my latest painting, an abstract piece in shades of sterling silver and deep blue. Below it, the nameplate on my desk caught the afternoon light. Madison Sterling, Chief Executive Officer. Claire knocked softly before entering. Your sister-in-law is here. Says she wants to discuss a position in the company. I thought about Catherine's sneering comments about arts district boutiques and bored housewives. Tell her the only opening is in the mailroom, I said, turning back to my reports. After all, everyone has to start somewhere. Later that evening, as I worked on a new painting in my studio, I thought about success and how it's measured. My family had spent years defining it by their standards: boardrooms, balance sheets, and bottom lines. They never understood that art wasn't just about creating beauty. It was about seeing potential, understanding value, and having the vision to build something extraordinary. I'd done more than prove them wrong. I'd created my own masterpiece, one worth far more than they could ever imagine. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Can we talk? About the company? I set my brush down and typed a reply. Sorry, busy creating value. Try the arts district. I hear it's quite profitable these days. Then I turned back to my canvas. After all, I had two empires to run now. One built on paint, the other on paper. And both were worth every stroke.